Today, me and Tuck are going to share with you the most underrated rare fruit tree you probably never thought to plant. Let's go! There are a number of reasons why I believe persimmon trees are so underrated and why everyone should be growing them. But before I get into that, let's first get a taste of two different kinds of persimmons. The astringent persimmon right here, and also the non-astringent persimmon. Let's start out with the non-astringent Fuyu persimmon. This variety right here is the Hana persimmon. So if you don't know what astringent is when you eat fruits with high levels of tannins that aren't perfectly ripe. And it gives you that dry mouth, like chalky feeling, and it's just super unpleasant. When it comes to the Asian persimmon, they grow in warmer climates in about zones 7 to 11. And they're ripe and ready when they're hard, just like this, almost like an apple. And you can tell they're ripe when they get this deeper orange color right here. So since they have lower levels of tannins and they're non-astringent ones, we can eat them when they're like this. Compared to the American persimmon, which I'll bring you over to after, you have to wait for those to get super soft and jelly-like. So you can see this tree has a lot of persimmons on it. It's doing really well, even though it's a small tree. And the non-astringent ones are usually ripe earlier than the astringent ones, so you kind of can extend your harvest with having both kinds of persimmons. So you can eat these ones early, and then you can eat some of the other ones later in the season. Let's cut this off. You'll notice these persimmons are relatively large, and I have some on the tree that are even bigger than this one right here. The Asian persimmons are larger than the American persimmons. Let's cut this open and get a taste. Just cut it from right here. Cut it just like I would an apple. So it's got that nice color in there. Slice off a piece right here. And you could eat the skin on these as well. So let's get a taste of it. Super sweet, nice like honey kind of flavor. Reminds me of like a cucumber a little bit too. Really nice texture to it. No astringency at all. Just overall great fruit to have in the garden. Really good. Not as sweet as the American persimmons when they're ripe, but still incredible flavor. Super refreshing and a really nice pop and texture to it. Once Tuck heard the knife, he started to come over. Let's see if he wants to try it. Tuck, you want to try the persimmon, boy? Come here, Tuck. Let's see if this guy wants to try it. He'll probably like the crunch on it a little bit. What do you think, boy? Pretty good? Yeah, we'll call that Tuck approved. Not bad, huh, boy? If you love seeing Tuck in the videos, make sure you spam some hearts down low. This guy's been having a pretty good winter. Soon we'll do a full update on his health and how he's doing and everything in a short amount of time, but overall the guy's doing pretty good, as you can see. He loves the persimmons and he really likes the Fuyu Asian ones more than the American ones. This guy loves his Asian food, right, boy? Here is the other kind of persimmon, the astringent persimmon, also known as the American persimmon. This one you eat when the fruit is super, super soft and jelly-like. This variety right here is known as the Nikita's Gift. It's actually a hybrid and it's self-fertile. One thing I love about this variety is because it's a hybrid, you can kind of get the best of both worlds. So typically the American persimmons are super, super tiny and the Asian persimmons are larger. So because this is a cross between an American and an Asian one, you get some of the larger size from the Asian persimmon, but you also get like the characteristics and the astringency from the American persimmon, so you eat them when they're softer. So it's a really awesome tree. The fact that the hybriding process allows you to get, again, the best of both worlds. This one is an incredible variety, such a good producer. Look how much fruit it has on it. It's actually unbelievable. And the persimmons would be even larger if I thinned the tree out more. You'll notice it has a lot of fruit on it. Even though I went through and thinned the tree, I still didn't thin it enough, so that's something I'm going to try to do better next year. And the production is just out of control. So let's harvest one of these persimmons. Again, it's best when they're super, super soft and jelly-like this right here. Then we'll get a taste for how delicious these persimmons really are. Right here is a ripe astringent persimmon. You can see how soft it is. These will start to ripen naturally when the frosts start to come in because the exposure to the cold actually causes cell damage, which releases ethylene. What that does is it breaks down the cell walls and it kind of just ripens the fruit. So it's also breaking the tannins down, which makes it so it's not astringent anymore. So you want it to be super soft, just like this. Let's crack this open and get a taste of the astringent persimmon. I'm just gonna tear it open. You can see how easily it just opens just like that. And look at the texture of the fruit. It almost looks like honey or jelly. All right, let's get a taste of it. It looks amazing. So insanely sweet. It just, I mean, it tastes like honey. It tastes like I guess what honey would probably taste like if your bees were all getting all their nectar from a persimmon flower. It's an insane taste. It almost like takes your breath away. Zero astringency, so insanely good. I mean, just unbelievable flavor. Now that we know the two different kinds of persimmons, let's get into why I think they are one of the most underrated fruit trees that you could plant. The first reason is because persimmon trees are essentially pest and disease resistant. Since they have such thick, glossy leaves, the pests really don't like going after them. Since I planted this tree about 6 or 7 years ago, I haven't had to do any pest or disease management. I've never sprayed the tree or anything. I kind of just let it do its thing, and it tends to be one of the most consistent producing fruit trees I have in my whole entire food forest. If you live in the South, then persimmon wilt can be a little bit of an issue. If you think you might have that issue, then you could plant varieties that are resistant to that for your location. But overall, I mean, it's such a fantastic tree. It's one of the easiest trees to actually get fruit from that I have in my whole property. Once it started producing, it hasn't stopped, and it's just a really, really good tree. The second reason I believe persimmons are underrated is because they are a great season extender, in particular the American persimmon. When all the other perennials are finished in the food forest, that's when the persimmon comes through, shines, and puts out a huge level of production. When combining this with other perennials, you could grow for such a long period of time and harvest for such a long period of time. For instance, I have my earliest producing perennial that's ready in April right next to me here, the asparagus. And we're harvesting from this time perennials throughout the whole season with all different kinds of perennials, strawberries, raspberries, grapes, everything, all the way up to December with the persimmons right here. So again, an incredible season extender. The third reason I believe persimmons are underrated is because they grow in most climates. The Asian persimmon grows in zones 7 to 11, while the American one grows in zones 4 to 9, which means as long as you're in zone 4 to 11, you could be growing persimmons on your property. Another thing to mention is persimmons grow well in fertile soil that drains well, just like most fruit trees, but they can also tolerate poor soils. So it's just an overall easy fruit to grow that grows in most locations. The fourth reason I believe persimmons are underrated is because they're an easy to manage, low maintenance tree. When it comes to pruning, it's good to do a light pruning to encourage some new growth because that's where the flower and the fruits are going to be. You can also give them a relatively heavy pruning if you want to try to keep the tree smaller. You'll notice that persimmons grow best on a central leader form. So we have one central leader coming up, and then our branches are growing off the side of that. It's important to encourage wide branch angles from the central leader because wider branch angles are stronger and can hold more fruit. If you have really sharp branch angles that are like this, they're going to be weaker, and when the fruit gets heavy, the branches are more liable to just crack just like that. So when it comes to your pruning, it's also a good idea to remove some of your older branches to encourage new branches because like I mentioned earlier, that the fruit, the flowers and the fruit are going to be on the new current season's growth. So you want to make sure you're encouraging some of that new growth. This way you get a lot of fruit on your trees. Another thing is when it comes to your persimmons, you really want to thin the trees out because if you don't thin, you'll end up with a lot of small persimmons. You'll see here, if I did a better job of thinning, I would have had bigger persimmons. Overall, they're not tiny, but they're not as big as they could be. So when managing your tree, it's not a lot of work, but doing the right things, taking the right steps to do a little bit of maintenance will go a long way when it comes to overall production and the size of your fruit. The fifth reason I believe persimmons are underrated is because you can use the fruit in such a diverse number of ways, and also the trees are just so beautiful. When it comes to the ripe fruit, you could dehydrate it freeze it, use it for smoothies, use it for baking. So there's just so many different uses for the actual fruit. Another thing about this tree is it looks incredible throughout the season. So when the persimmons start to like ripen and they get like a little bit of like a yellow color, it looks amazing against the backdrop of the dark green glossy leaves. Then as the weather starts to get a little bit colder, the leaves start to change color a little bit and they get like this bright yellowish color and it looks like the whole tree is on fire. Then after that, we get to this point when all the leaves fall off and it's just covered in persimmons. So overall, not only are there so many different uses for the fruit, but it's just an incredible tree to look at. That's why I put it in the front corner of my fruit forest. It's one of my show trees, I call it, but it also produces so much fruit that's so useful. So it's just an amazing fruit. It looks like Tuck found himself an old carrot. Let's go see what he's up to real quick. What do you got there, Techie? Huh, boy? He got one right out of the ground. An old carrot that I hadn't harvested. Looks like he's having a blast back there. What's up, boy? Searching for your own snacks? Looks like he found an old carrot. It's not the prettiest looking carrot, but it must be pretty good because this guy's out here snacking on it. So this is the kind of guy that he is. He's always working, but if we're not going to give him enough attention and give him a snack, he'll just come out here and harvest something himself, because when you're head of security, you're constantly working. It's a tough job. You burn a lot of calories, so you got to make sure you're staying well fed. Right, boy? Yeah, maybe a little leaf on the face or two, but that never hurt. Good boy, Techie. This guy is the heart and soul of the channel. He's the leader. We kind of just follow right behind him because he's always guiding us in the right way. He's the best planter we got, the best security guard we got, and overall just the young king. Which kind of persimmon tree you plant is really going to be based on your climate. So hopefully you live in a climate like me where you can plant both the Asian and the American varieties, but whether or not you plant either one of them, you're still going to have a fantastic tree, a productive tree, and a tree that's going to bring you a lot of joy. Overall, persimmons are a kind of tree that, in my opinion, everyone should be growing on their property. They're beautiful, the fruit is delicious, and especially the American persimmon is a great season extender. Not to mention they're easy to grow and they're easy to manage. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Me and Tuck had a blast out here. We have so much fun sharing our joy for fruit trees, for perennials, for food forests, and just for gardening in general. So we hope we're encouraging you to get some trees in the ground so you can start getting closer to harvests. Now is the best time to plant a fruit tree. I mean, actually 7 years ago was the best time to plant a fruit tree, is what they say, but now is the second best time. So order some fruit trees, get them in the ground so you can be getting closer to harvests. Me and Tuck wanted to mention a thank you to one of our new channel members, Barbara Gwynn. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing out here. Although the food forest looks a little bit sad because it's dormant right now, it's nice having some fresh fruit to just encourage us, to get us excited as we start to get ready to order some of our seeds and stuff. Again, me and Tuck had a blast out here. He's right down here. He had a lot of fun. He had a couple snacks, right, Tuck? He had a couple snacks, but now he's stayed in guard of the whole garden. So don't forget to spam some hearts down low for the young king. And Tuck and James will be back again real soon. We out.